Let's start the recording. Okay.
We'll see if that's any better. It might be noisy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little noisy, like a fan.
Yeah, there is a fan right there, but I'll be muted hard. But that's the 416. That's my better mic.
It's very noisy.
I'll work on that. Hang on.
Like white noise noisy.
I should probably close the overhead window here. Okay. So, I need better camera controls. All right. Guy is there. Hey. Yeah, so I think we can start now, even if more people are coming in. That's good. Good to see.
Hey.
Good to see. Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining today for the MimoLive Lab. Let's see what we can work out in this coming hour. If you have any questions, then I hope I can answer them. And as I think we agreed last time, we're going to start with what's new in MimoLive. We've just released today a new beta version, 6.7b2, and we're working on replacing the NDI, the Zoom SDK. And this, so there's like Zoom forces expires the use of older SDK versions to keep people up to date, and so we haven't updated Zoom SDK since we first shipped it. So this is kind of a task that is more that needs more resources than we originally hoped it would. We thought it might be just a quick fix, but it turns out it's a little more work. And so it's not yet in the beta version, but it's going to be in the next beta version. And this beta version we released because there were some bugs reported for the 6.6.1, and we wanted to address those as soon as possible. And also, our good friend Jason Jenkins is responsible for a new feature that we've added. I've quickly previewed that in the pre-show, in the pre-lab talking, and I can probably quickly switch to this. Oops. And this is the wrong window. I need to switch to the other window. Okay. All right, so this is the view of my cloud-based Mac Mini M2 at the Oak Host hosting facility, and I'm using that right now to record this session. And as you can see, I have a new output destination here called Last Recording Uploader. So last recording, if you have a file recording output destination in MimoLive, and you stop the recording, there's a new file that's been created, and you can use that as a source. There's a source called Last Recording Source. And now you can also upload it to Vimeo or using rsync via SSH to any user, any Unix-based system for further processing. And we are going to allow people to, or I mean, we're gonna ask people what other services they want to be supported, and we'll do our best to support those. And what it does is when I stop the recording, which I won't do right now, it will just show here the last recorded file. Maybe I should highlight stuff.
Man, this is so cool. We wanted this for so long. I can't believe it's finally in there. Because
Yeah. So
to bring you guys up to
yeah, so
speed,
this
we used to
is
use the
here.
one button. We used to use the one button studio in libraries, and so being able to have it in school, universities, libraries, and then also the other one that we were looking at is family history places where somebody like at a church can just come in, record a family history interview, and then when they're done, it uploads to a specific spot. So that's a use case of using MimoLive as a recorder, which is
Quick question.
$900 for just in time recorder is $900. So just to kind of give you an idea as to how much these H.264, H.265 recorders cost on the Mac. So there are alternatives. They're just really expensive and don't have all the functionality that we get with Mimo.
What happens if you have an ongoing event, but different segments, and you were to stop, start, stop, start? Would it create new recordings and upload them on the fly every time, or is it only when the entire event is done?
No, the last recording is always the last one that you stopped. So if you stop a recording, then you can start this last recording uploader. You can start recording the next one while you're doing that. And then when you stop that, you can start the last recording uploader again. So you could,
keep going and
upload the segments while you keep recording. Yeah.
And it'll name them with like a timestamp or something.
Yeah, it's they use the file name that you've specified in the file recording. So, yeah,
they do like time of day or something to
it's
differentiate
like
the segments.
Date, time, second. What
Dude,
we use
this
for
is a camera to cloud right here.
Yeah, camera to cloud. Yes.
What happens if you have multiple recordings going in a document?
Yeah, this is like the tricky thing right now. It's taking the last one that stopped before you click on the upload. So if you have multiple ones going and stop them all at the same time, it's sort of like takes a random one. So
yeah, it would be great if you can dial that into
a
specific output destination or something.
That is absolutely a feature request that we've already put in the list to be able to select which output destination, which file recording output destination corresponds to which last recording uploader. And then, we have to think about that a little more, I think, but how to implement that properly. But this is the first step, right? It's like,
go borrow from frame.io what Adobe's doing and steal all their ideas and put them in.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So and then you select the service. If you want to use Vimeo as the only one that's currently supported, you go to the preferences, settings, account, log into Vimeo with your account, and then you can upload files to the Vimeo account. And once it's done, it's also returning a URL that you can use to access this recording. So you can set up, in theory, you can also query directly from MimoLive the URL where you can get this recording. And you can display it as a QR code, for example, and people can just point their phones at the QR code and go to the recording. That kind of stuff. Right. The other thing that's in there, which I can't show you because I don't know how to use it properly, is a very much updated automation layer. So there's a lot of new functionality in the automation layer that allows you to query things like, what's the last recording update, the URL from that, and post it into into a QR code, and even compile a URL to call. Like if you want to set up a service, a web-based service that is called after the recording is uploaded, then you can forward the URL for the file to that service and things like that.
Man,
Hi,
that's the dream
John.
that we had. We wanted a barcode or a QR code that would print out as you leave the library, you walk out, because at the Space Needle here, they would take your picture and then they would give you this barcode, and then you can go pull it up later on when you get home. So the idea
Yep.
would be that you go to the school or the library, do your recording,
Yeah.
you walk out with a QR code, you scan it when you get
Yeah,
home, and there's your
Jason is
file.
Jason is implementing that now for the One Button Studio.
Man,
So yeah.
took over a year. Well, congrats to get it
Oh,
done.
yes, yes. All right. Good. So the automation layer is the other piece of the puzzle that's needed to get this working. And so we've taken the opportunity to update that very much.
Hold on, we have to
One,
pause because John Idleson's on a freaking train and showing out the window that he's moving right now. I think we got to pause for just a sec to hear where John's at. I think he's. Where are you, John? Muted, John.
I'm in a train.
That's
in the middle
incredible.
of nowhere,
Yeah.
on the way to the. Hi, Bobby.
Bobby.
You got a hi, Bobby, from the crew. We're on our way to the train is 100% full, and we ate at a dining car with two gentlemen from Canada who are coming for the eclipse. The major people coming to eclipse. They were at the eclipse that was in 2017, and one of the people who went to that eclipse met a person and started dating, and they're now coming to this eclipse and they're going to get married. So all exciting.
Oh, nice.
But back to MimoLive. I'll switch so you aren't distracted by the train.
Yeah, the train is moving at the fast speed of 25 miles per hour.
Okay, you Germans and your fast trains on time.
Yeah. Well, they're no longer on time, but they're still fast. So
Well, we left the day we were supposed to. Winfield did pretty well.
that counts as on time in Germany. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this concludes my part of the show. And John's part of the show. This is now we are opening it up for questions, or we have one more thing up our sleeves. Guy, do you want to talk about it, or should I?
I'll give an intro as I roll up my sleeve. So over here to my left is I'm calling it Cochrane Cloud. So the first participant in the cloud, because the cloud is just somebody else's hardware. And right now,
I really like using the guy Cochrane Cloud. I like it. You see CC on every mail.
There you go.
CC will now stand for.
There you go. Yeah. So it all started when I got this really fat pipe by accident. I was working on a different project and got this 5 gigabit connection to my house, and I was testing Mac Stadium, and I just had the base instance because I had heard about it from Grant in Australia, and he was using one, and it was a Mac Mini for about $100 a month. And you could go to Costco and go buy an M1 for 500, 550, I think it is, or an M2 is the latest one. And so if you have the bandwidth, then you don't, you could own your own hardware. If you want to rent something, Mac Stadium, and in Europe, we're recording this in Ocoast, which is another similar to Mac Stadium. But what happens is the space becomes expensive. So if you need more storage, that becomes prohibitively expensive. The nice thing about Mac Stadium, as opposed to EC2 or Amazon, Google, Azure with Microsoft, is that they charge what's called egress fees. So any time that you're letting video or data go out, you're getting charged for it. So in Mac Stadium and Ocoast, it's all you can eat. So you can transmit as much as you want. And the nice thing about here at my house is, of course, I can transmit as much as I want. So Oliver's in Germany, but this machine that we're about ready to see here in just a second is sitting a few feet away from me, and it's a hot rod. It's a you're going to see it run MimoLive, multiple copies of MimoLive, and it's pretty impressive what it can do. So it just opens up a world of possibilities. One, being able to just rent a computer, especially a fast one if you don't need it. You later on, you just turn it off and you just hand it over. You don't have to go to the Apple Store, buy something and return it, or buy it and get stuck with it and have to sell it on eBay. So there's these possibilities that are open up. I mean, we do it in vMix in the cloud all the time, but this is exciting because it's on the Mac. And if you're on the Mac and you use Final Cut and you have these workflows of wanting to edit and have other people edit, it opens up a lot of possibilities. So being able to have a stable connection. We do a lot of stuff where we do playouts. So we play out into Zoom. So we have clips that we're pushing into a meeting. So having a stable play. So my power could go out if I'm playing out a 1 hour long segment. I could still just jump on my cell phone and still control it and play the next clip, or I still have control, So that's the interesting thing about the cloud, is that you have these abilities of processing power, data, transport that's just in a data center that's secure, and then you have power that's on generators and things like that. So you're more likely to have power go out at a residence than you are in a data center. And of course, they have generators there, which is what you pay the big money for. But with that, you want to show them what you've built, Olive?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of weeks ago, we had I think at the first MimoLive Lab of this format this year, I think we tested how many streams we could feed into a Zoom call from one M2 Pro computer. And I don't know, we got pretty high, right? So we got like what we did is we tried to see how many ISO feeds we could get from Zoom into MimoLive from, now I remember, from a Zoom meeting. And I think we got like 10 feeds into MimoLive, and with the Mac Mini M2 Pro. And so this idea came up, how much more power do we have if we look at a Mac Studio? And just for the kick, here is the 24 processors cores that this Mac Studio has. And you're now looking at actually the Mac that's in Guy's house, and I'm controlling it over here from Austria, from Salzburg, and that's amazing technology in itself here. And now what we now set up is what we want to do is we want to provide a Zoom meeting where people can join the meeting and get a number of feeds. In our case, like eight feeds of people talking, and audio and video. Right now, the audio and video we are feeding into this meeting is sort of like experimental. It's a lot of, you can laugh at it if you want to. There's a AI generated talking heads, and some of the words they get horribly wrong. And that's funny in itself. But what we want to do is we want to provide this meeting so people can join and try out Zoom ISO or Zoom or Ecamm or MimoLive or vMix Zoom integrations with multiple sources. And I'm showing you the first steps in that direction, and the first thing you need is 8 feeds into a Zoom call and a Zoom meeting. And so we're doing this. I have a little AppleScript here. I'm not showing it because it contains all sensitive information. But if I launch it, what it does, it launches 8 copies of MimoLive, and it asks me for access every time. So next time we will do that just using the script, not the script editor. So it launches an instance of MimoLive and then joins a Zoom call, and then waits a little and launches the next instance and joins the next Zoom call. So I just have to click allow here for, I think, one more time, and then it just stops doing that for one weird reason or another. Apple security stuff. So now I have 2 people joined in the Zoom meeting. And this continues until we have all 8 joined. So it takes about a minute and a half to set this all up. And yeah, and then we have a meeting that people can use, can join, and then try out all the Zoom integration features. And the interesting thing is now we have 4 MimoLive instances running. And if you look at the CPU meters here, you see that they spike briefly when they launch a new instance, but then they sort of settle down again, and we can run 8 instances of MimoLive streaming into Zoom into 8 instances of Zoom, basically. And handling all the compression and video in full HD with a Mac Studio that is hitting about 50 to 60% of the CPU load that it has available once all the 8 sources have connected. I ran out of talking heads. I only have 6, so I have one that is in there 3 times. But you still can see what this is all about. So now, once it settles down, you can see that the activity monitor. If you look at the activity monitor list, that gives us the CPU usage. We still have 65% of that machine left to do other stuff, which is pretty
So
amazing,
Oliver,
I think.
you're actually running the 8 MimoLives, 8 Zoom plus our meeting, so that's 9 all going at the same time, right?
No, this meeting I'm not running this meeting on the machine. So I have
you're running it on your machine at home.
Yes, I have it as a different machine, but this is like the 8 instances of MimoLive. We will add another one that has some sort of some sponsor messages or simulates a screen share, and you can join that.
This is M1 Max.
No, this is an M1. That's an M2 Ultra. So this is like
M2 Ultra.
That's a Mac Studio M2 Ultra. So that machine is about 4K, or it's exactly 4K, plus minus a couple of bucks for rebates, and minus a couple of bucks for rebates, and plus a couple of bucks for taxes. So it's around 4K. 64 megabytes of RAM, gigabytes of RAM, and as I said, 24 processors. And 1 or 2 things I have to do manually after I've joined, and this is a list of things we still have to do in order to get this done. Is like we need to make better videos for people to have something to edit from. We need to make a sponsor message. And then we need some automation for the bots. And I was hoping that maybe one of you has a suggestion how to do that. What I haven't been able to figure out is how can I unmute the bots programmatically? We figured out that you can have the video join automatically, but how do I unmute the bots so that the audio goes in? So I have to go in right now and click into 8 windows here and turn on original sound and unmute people. And I mean, it's done quickly, but we want to avoid doing any manual stuff because we have to restart that meeting every 33 hours, for practical reasons, every 24 hours. So once a day, someone has to go in and click these things, and that's not really really good. And I'm just quickly doing it, so we have this thing up and running. Did I do 5 already? So yeah, I get lost in which one I've already clicked. 7. Okay. 8. I think I did 8 already because that was the last one that I showed for. Oh, I have the original sound from musicians on. Okay, so now we have the music and the audio and the video going for that meeting. And another thing we have to figure out, still have to figure out, how can we automatically change the security settings? Because we don't want people to be able to chat, we don't want people to be able to unmute themselves, and we don't want people who join the meeting to do the recording to be able to turn on their video. So now when you join that meeting, you will be automatically granted recording rights, so you can record, or streaming rights, streaming or recording rights, or both, I think, so that you can test any integration you want. And should I post this so people can try it? Well, I don't know. And then, but then you can't turn on your video, and you can't unmute yourself, and you can't chat. And that's because we don't want people to be able to send data into that meeting.
Aren't those restrictions set up at the meeting level? So when you scheduled that meeting, those are where you implement those, I think.
didn't find the settings for that. I didn't find the settings for that. There are settings for all kinds of things, but those 4 things are not in the general meeting settings. I didn't find those. If they are, well, we can see if we can find them. Guy, do you want to go in and log in and
So Oliver,
Yeah.
what level account do you have this on?
This is on Guy's account right now.
Yeah, there is a way that we could do it. If you here, go ahead and go to launch Zoom on that machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see where it says new meeting, and then you see that little triangle below.
Yeah.
See that personal meeting ID. Now see where it says PMI settings. Yep.
Yeah.
And now advanced options. There.
Yeah, but it doesn't say.
So mute people on entry.
Yeah, but then they can unmute themselves.
Yep, they can't.
Yeah, this is the problem. The problem is that these options are missing from that settings thing. I can set a participant's video to off.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is making is doing the same. It's the same effect. I think it's also just when joining. So you can change that once you're in the meeting, unless you use that other thing to turn that off. That is kind of. So I was thinking maybe we
the
can
security
use Zoom.
settings.
Yeah, Zoom OC or Zoom Cuts or something, but I don't have a lot of experience with Zoom OC or Zoom Cuts.
Yeah, we might need to reach out to somebody at Zoom. We got to figure out exactly what we need, and then, because I thought we could do it right there, but I guess it's not there.
It's not there, but Guy, this is a business one account?
This is the IV account.
Oh,
so it is a business account. Yeah.
Okay. And I think the master owner of that might have another set of options. Let me look.
David, do you know if on the admin level, if there's a way to make a meeting so that you can say, do not turn on?
I believe so, and it should be at the tenant. So the admin of the account can either enable or disable certain features. If I'm not mistaken, when you're in Zoom, your web portal, scheduling the meeting, you set it up once, then you can go back into it and enable a lot of those things. Save it as like a template is what I do. That way you have those settings that you can just crank out meetings with a certain set of things. But
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and I think it's under admin and its group, under admin meetings group, there's a whole set of options there that and it'd be
yeah,
also interesting under that to look at the translation capabilities. Because it'd be fun at Oliver to do this and have the people not only be able to do this, but also be able to do selection of language. So you could possibly pull up this and you could have each of the people speaking a different language if they wanted to try to do it.
yeah,
The German
that.
version,
Yeah,
the English version.
that's for me. That for me is like version 3 of this meeting. Version 1 is now. Version 2 should be the one where we automatically can reboot it, and version 3 is then we add all kinds of bells and whistles. But now we have to figure out those basics, I think. Yeah. So
on the stats, do we have 1080 from every one of those feeds, and what happens to your CPU if they're all 1080 and you switch between them?
what happens to what?
If they're all at 1080 and you're doing switching, does that affect your load on your?
A little bit. I don't know. Maybe someone wants to go in and try that. Right. Copy link. How do we put that? I put up a
I have to put in the after hours Discord.
Discord? Yeah, I can do that.
I'm really impressed by it's amazing you're running so many instances.
Yeah, that's
Well,
crazy.
considering
How
that
do you
other
get it?
people that have done this had to use 9 computers, we're using 1.
How did you get them to launch?
There's a we can launch them by using AppleScript.
I see, because the Finder wouldn't let you launch more than one of an app.
No, what you do is you make 8 apps like this, and then you tell you use a specific you launch a specific instance by referencing the whole name. So you say open app MimoLive 5.app, and I can show you what the script looks like, but I have to use one that's no longer valid because of the private information that's in there. AppleScript editor. Oops, no. The only thing with Splashtop guy is that I can't use command space to open the Spotlight search thing.
You might have to file a request.
Yeah, well, you can't have everything. So we should have the old scroll. Yeah. Is that the one? Yeah.
Just so you know, there's a 40-inch monitor over there with that computer. So I'm looking at it. There's a 40-inch display with everything.
So you can read that from there. So as you can see here, we use an AppleScript, and that just uses a shell script, shell command, open a MimoLive. So this is the name of the app, and this is the path to the document it should open, right? And then we wait a couple of seconds just to to allow the instance to launch and to load the document. And then we tell it to join a meeting here with this command. And the MimoLive 2 what is that, colon? Is that the 2 dots? What is that called in English?
Colon.
Colon // and that is basically how you can access the HTTP API from the terminal using this command. So there's an API command for Zoom joining a Zoom meeting. You tell it what meeting you join to, what display name to use, the passcode for the meeting, what Zoom account to use. So you can set up like the Zoom, you know that you can set up Zoom accounts in here in the settings, the Zoom account here. Um, and if you do that, you log into Zoom and then you are authenticated using this account. You don't need to do that for joining meetings that don't require any sort of authentication. In our case, we use it so we can have host or co-host rights for the people, for the bots that join the meeting. So we don't have to set up all the permissions for them. So the display name that should be used, the passcode, the Zoom account name, and then this thing here tells MimoLive to use the virtual camera that comes with the Zoom SDK. So we can return feed the program out into the Zoom meeting. We've turned this off because when we first released MimoLive, we've hidden, or we didn't turn it off. We hid it behind this command line tool because when we first released the feature, the virtual camera wasn't working reliably, and it still isn't, sort of. For example, if you join this meeting here, the after hours meeting, and you go into a breakout room, this virtual camera thing disappears. So it's not available inside a meeting room, in a breakout room. And so we hit this feature until we are able to fix these issues, and then we'll return it. The other reason we hit that feature is because it also comes with an audio. So it also returns the program audio to Zoom. But that's not a mix minus. So if we take all the audio out of Zoom and then feed it back into, we get a feedback loop. And so we to avoid these issues, we decided to make it a hidden feature. But it's there, and you can use it if you know what you're doing. So this is how we launch those 8 instances, is like with the script that specifically references a different app by name. So we have 8 of these steps here, in this case 6, because that's my old script we used for the first test. And we are able to launch all these instances. Now,
and just to back up for a little bit, just so everybody knows, the goal of this is so that you guys will have a place where you can go and extract Zoom feeds 24 hours a day, because there isn't a place on the internet right now to do that. So if you want to test MimoLive, you want to do like a 4-up because you have a show coming in, you have some guests, and you want to make some picture in a picture, or what's it called when you do the we call them super sources in the Black Magic world. What's it called in MimoLive? The 4-up?
Yeah, split screens.
Split screens. Yeah. So if you want to practice that, those will be available. I have a dream of having another breakout room where you could have like sports going on. So 24 hours a day, if you want to practice cutting sports, there'll be a rock band. So that would be really cool to have, a concert in one room, sporting event in another room, and then talking heads in another room. So you can just go in and 24 hours a day, you can practice cutting. So this should be really cool for educators, anybody that's teaching people how to cut. It'll be wonderful if this all works. It's just, it's expensive, $4,000 computer, and then Oliver's brain to make all these scripts and get it working, but it's working, like you guys can see. I mean, there's still some things to figure out, but we're on a path. I mean, this is pretty cool.
Very cool.
if we go in and relaunch it manually every 24 hours, it's already working, We need some more sensible content. I'm going to copy the link and post it in the after hour in Discord. Let me just, how do I, oh, this is like, okay. So this should work. No, it doesn't. Why can't I copy the link and get it in? Yeah,
You're putting it
the
in AH discussion on Discord? Is that where you're putting it?
yeah,
Or MimoLive?
the seamless clipboard exchange doesn't work somehow.
Yeah.
What are you using for remote screen sharing?
We right now we're using a splash top because this Mac is behind a NAT, so it doesn't have its own IP address. So I'm using Splashtop to traverse the NAT. And I had some trouble setting it up, but when it works, it works. But I can't figure out how to make it get the contents of the clipboard. How do I do that? Do you know, Guy?
I think if you jump out of the app, you can't just paste
Clipboard
it like
sync. Clipboard sync from local to remote and from remote to local.
found
There's
it.
no command that makes it do that. It's like you can turn the syncing off and on. Let's see if that works. Turning it
Okay,
off
while
and
you
on.
do that, Kyle has a question.
It's sort of maybe related, I don't know, but I have run into not being able to join the Zoom meeting from Mimo, and I'm not sure if it's the beta. Like I used to be able to join with this machine, but now I'm not able to come into a meeting. If I copy and paste the meeting ID and blah blah blah, it stalls out. Like it doesn't join the meeting. Like the meeting that I have my hand raised in, I'm trying to join this meeting, join after hours, but it stops.
Yeah, if to join after hours meeting, you need to be logged in to MimoLive, to Zoom. So you need to have that do
Yeah.
that.
So
go here.
So it's kind of the same
add-
thing that we're talking about, where it's authenticated users now that can join the meeting, this after hours meeting, whereas previously it was hosted as a 24. Remember how we used to have to reset every 24 hours? Well, they started doing it in a Zoom room, and the Zoom room can just go on and on and on. The bummer was that it didn't have any authentication. So now we're back to authentication. So it just depends on what kind of host you have. Who's hosting the room? Is it a Zoom room or is it a Zoom regular person account? So that's the difference. What's going on right now? That's why you can't get it in here. It needs authentication. So you need, I think you need a Zach or you need the link that has the embedded, like all that password stuff.
No. You just have to. You just have to go into the settings. Click on Zoom here and sign in, and then you can just use the room number. I've done this here. Let me switch to the other machine. Screen sharing this one. So yeah, this as you can see here, I've just said join meeting. I'm already in the meeting. So that's not gonna work. So let me quickly figure out how to. John, do you want to say something, or is it just waving at?
I was just looking for the delay.
Okay. So
if the person's registered for the meeting and they log in with their account into the preferences of MimoLive, then they could join the meeting.
Yeah, and then you just need the meeting code, which is like the 965534743.
He's putting his thumbs up. He's got it. That worked for him.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Well, good. We fixed one problem. So very good. Well, okay, let's go back to our little thing here.
Just to go back on that with having an authenticated account into the meeting, that's usually set at the tenant as well. So the administrator of an account, if it's a paid or enterprise level account, can enforce that the meeting has one of the three settings. It's either password, waiting room, or an authenticated user. Otherwise, they can just clearly join, and in the back end, they'll show up as a guest account in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there isn't too many painful lessons to learn as we make this URL go out, publicly. If there is, then we'll have to lock it down tighter. But in the meantime, no cameras on, no ability to unmute, no ability to rename yourself. I mean, there's not really much somebody can do to interfere with the meeting if they can't chat.
That's a good point. Disallow renaming. Good point, because then they could just put messages in the names. What people come up with. Okay, so the to-do, that's basically the to-do list. I think the most important thing is the automation for the bot, and I'm gonna move that up here. Oops.
What was the mechanism for the old ISO test room to get? It was like a hand raise or something to get the ability, right?
Hand raise with Zoom ISO, and Zoom ISO would then, if you raised your hand, Zoom ISO saw the hand raise and would grant the permission.
Yeah, we can do that more automatically with when someone joins the meeting, they are automatically granted those permissions. We can do that through API talking to make.com. I have a script running on make.com, but we haven't wired it up to that meeting yet. So the basically what it does, it detects when a new person enters the meeting. It checks if it's a host or co-host, and if not, it just simply grants the permissions. So that is easy for people. They just join and they will be able to use the meeting right away without having to go through some sort of process to get the rights to record. In order to make that happen with make.com, what we do have to do is we have to make the API that's in MimoLive available over the network from this computer, and the way to do that is to install ngrok on the machine. And one interesting thing, I haven't, how do we, if we run multiple copies of the that's going to be interesting. Which one is going to receive the commands? But maybe we don't even have to do no, we don't. For this feature, we don't even have to do we can run that on make.com completely without a connection to that cloud machine. But if we want to talk to the cloud machine, we can install something called ngrok, which makes the HTTP API available through a HTTPS external service. So even if the machine doesn't have, even though the machine doesn't have a publicly accessible IP number, we can talk to it from the API. All right. Good. I see Kyle playing around, or who was that playing around with the Zoom integration now? I think it was Kyle, right?
Oliver,
cooking show or what?
For the automation, I think you can use Pipedream.
What's that? Pipedream.
You can use pipedream.com. I'm pretty sure of that. I will experiment a little bit with that. And
what does it do? What is it doing?
Well, Pipedream is kind of a Zapier automation thing that actually
like make.com, just a different
So I had a look at the documentation here, and I have a meeting participant joined, and then I can perform changes to the
Yeah, we can do that in make.com as well. So whatever,
So if somebody
you know,
wanted to remotely cut Kyle's show via a browser so he's using MimoLive, what's the easiest way to do that? Like if I wanted to cut it from here, but not take
yeah,
control of his computer,
the easiest way would be to set up ngrok on his end, and he sends you the URL where you can access it from.
okay.
Ngrok,
Can we make that a
ngrok.
future episode?
Yeah, it's easy. I've done that. I think there is an episode on this. You basically just install ngrok on the machine and launch it, and that's it. It's that dirt easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the buttons. So if we made buttons just like 5 buttons of somebody didn't know much about cutting at all, and we just made them 5 buttons, those would just be accessible in a web browser through ngrok.
Yeah.
That would be cool. We should do that.
Yeah. Oh, we can. We have 4 minutes left.
We can do it now.
Sure, why not?
So I don't know. I'm sorry to jump in just because we're talking about cutting my show. I don't know what just happened, but I was playing around and it froze and I stopped video and now I'm not able to turn video back on my Mimo recorder.
Aren't we seeing it right now? Isn't that it with your hand moving?
This is me on that computer.
Yeah.
This is me on this computer, but the MimoLive recorder that is now
Oh, I see it.
stopped.
How did you feed the video back into MimoLive into Zoom?
Virtual
from the
camera.
MimoLive recorder or using the virtual camera?
The bug that you're talking about with virtual camera, but like that's how I was coming in a while ago, but now I can see it on my program on Mimo, but I can't, like it's just Zoom is not letting me turn on video. Like I
think
virtual camera as an option, but it just will, like I'm clicking on the camera button and it's not turning on.
But in that test meeting that Oliver set up?
No, in this here and there.
I
was the MimoLive recorder that in this meeting was showing his screen earlier, so where he was doing switching. Yeah.
I could do over here if I see, and I just switched it to the virtual camera and now it's stopped my video and I can't turn it back on.
Interesting.
I don't wonder if it's a setting at this meeting level. Shouldn't be.
But if I go back to Blackmagic, I can turn it on.
And I've had MimoLive lock out the virtual camera if something changed. Like if something between Zoom and Mimo changed a setting or a device became unavailable, I've had it where Zoom will not see the virtual camera again, even though it shows up.
Yeah, so we had an issue with the virtual camera that was crashing when you were using a beta version. Let me think. Yeah. Did you install the virtual camera from a beta version?
I did.
So the virtual camera is now comes with MimoLive, right? And what you should do is you should use a release version of MimoLive to install the virtual camera. And then you can use the beta versions, which you can have on the computer at the same time. You can have like this 6.6.1 release version. Use that to install the virtual camera, and then use the 6.7b2 to join. Then you can use that to play around, but it will still use the virtual camera from the 6.6.1. And the virtual cameras from the beta versions, they have a very interesting error handling, which is not our fault, which is stupid to say, but it's like something Apple built into these things is when you run it in debug mode, it will simply fail if it encounters any issues. If if you run it in production mode, those issues, I mean, this is like something like, as you said, the audio changed or the video changed or something like that, which we can totally ignore, and which the production version ignores. And so my recommendation is download 661, install the virtual camera from there. So if the virtual camera is already installed, remove all the copies of MimoLive from your computer. That will also remove the virtual camera from your computer. Then download what is the stable version, 662, 661. Install the virtual camera, and then you can start playing with the beta versions again. So my guess is that you install the beta version of the virtual camera.
So the beta versions won't overwrite the virtual camera that's in the release version?
Yes. And the other way around. So if you install the virtual camera from a beta version, which you should only do if we tell you to test something, if you install that and run the final version, the 661 version. Oh, someone has an open mic.
Sorry.
Then it will also run the first virtual camera extension you installed. So it's not going to replace that automatically with the newer one. It's not the newer one. It's the same thing running. There's no newer ones. The newer ones will update, but in this case, it won't update camera. Override that, as you said. Yeah. Any other questions for today? We are reaching the hour, the limit of the hour.
Not a question, but I got a thought on your bot automation problem. Do you know an app called Keyboard Maestro?
Yeah.
I've used that in the GUI options in there, like take screenshot, find the thing that looks like this, click that, do this, do the next thing, to do some automations that couldn't have been done any other way. So that's what I was pondering. Could you get there through that?
I think we could probably, but that's it's not very operation safe.
No, it's ugly hack, but
yeah. And we will resort to those ugly hacks if we don't find a better way to do it. I know that the SDK supports those options, so I might be able to convince Achim to not only update the SDK, but also add those things that we need for this to work to the SDK. And that would be like the second best option. The best option would be to have something that already works.
Oh, for sure.
Like Zoom OSC or Zoom Cuts or something that we could use to do this. Because then we wouldn't have any work except for downloading the app and configuring it.
Yeah, that'd be crazy if through doing this we came up with another idea to help like school kids learn something before class. It's like, or like a church group, you have to watch this video, watch it at your leisure, but go into this breakout room, it'll be playing, but you can't unmute yourself, you can't turn on your video, you can't chat with your friends, you just got to watch this. And then you come in and now it's discussion time. At 8:00 is discussion, but at 7:30 we expect you in there watching this video. So that there could be some interesting use cases in the future if we figure out some tricks.
I'm in awe for your creativity regarding this. Oh, John is at lunch, dinner, lunch. Probably.
I'm launched here, and we're in the dining area now. But nice. I was just thinking the same thing. You were that there ought to be other uses for this. I'm just trying to think what they might be able to do with signage to the stores. The ability to have agencies running and controlling with MimoLive could be a very interesting opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there
I think,
Wi-Fi
yeah,
on that
there's
train?
apparently.
Now, the advantage of this is that the trains tend to follow the highway. So if you look over on, let me show you this. So out that window, you'll see the highway. So we're paralleling the highway, and the highway has fairly good Wi-Fi or cell, I should say.
Are you in Arizona? Where are you at?
Do we know where we at? We're in Arizona, all right?
No, we're in New Mexico.
Excuse me, we're in New Mexico.
We've just passed Lordsburg, which, if you're a history fan, was the end result of the movie Stagecoach, which was John Wayne's premiere.
John Wayne's. Okay, so we just this is now the movie tour, and we're now passing the scenes, the last John Wayne or the first John Wayne movie.
When are the bandits coming to rob the train? Isn't that part of the entertainment? Is like people coming up on horseback and all right.
Anyway,
good.
Oliver, thank you so much for a wonderful section. Congratulations to Guy and Oliver for the accomplishment. And are we on next Thursday, same time, same channel?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Good. Yeah. So I'm now stopping the recording, and everyone is free to ask and questions.